Hey everyone, I'm Lucy, your host for Start the Conversation, a series dedicated to shining a light on building the future of your community with neurodiversity in mind. Each episode will bring you conversations with inspiring individuals who are making a significant impact in their fields, from neurodiversity in sports to creating inclusive work environments. Our aim is to educate, inspire, and empower our listeners to make a difference. So sit back, relax, and join us as we start the conversation. Hi, it's Lucy here from Inclusive Change, and we're talking, as always, about building the future of work with neurodiversity in mind. And today I've got a guest with me from my white dog. It's Paula Power. Welcome, the lady with the most amazing name.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lucy. What a brilliant opportunity to talk to you, especially in your work environment, and then to share some of the knowledge that we in mental health and neurodiversity in the workplace. Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh, we've got a lot to talk about, and we've met fairly recently online, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we've kind of got this sort of shared love and shared desire to let more people know about what we can do about mental health,
Yeah,
around neurodivergence and neurodiversity, and we just want to get that out there.
definitely. Yeah, look forward to it.
Okay, so um, tell me a bit, Paula, about you and your business.
Thank you, Lucy. Yeah, so the business is called My White Dog, as you mentioned. And the reason it's My White Dog is because it came from the idea that Winston Churchill, when he talked about his black dog of depression, I thought, well, actually, I'm all about positive interventions. I'm all about optimism and positive interventions for change. Not that it's all positive toxicity. It's about, because I recognise that there are some challenges, but so the focus has always been around positive interventions. And I thought, well, my white dog, it might be a really nice way to present it. So that's the reason why it's called My White Dog. And I've been running the business now since 2018. And it's interesting that I never imagined that I would still be doing this, 8 years later.
Really?
No idea. It's really just, it was a moment in time that I realized that I could make a difference
Mhm.
because I had a sibling. So it's a personal story, actually.
Okay.
A sibling that experienced challenges when they were growing up. And there was never really the right support. It was always just take medication. Let's
Mhm.
put her in hospital, but it was never long-term resolution. It was always quick fixes, but there was nothing sustainable. And I thought, well, when I saw mental health first aid as a possible intervention, I thought, well, maybe I need to do this. Maybe let's explore this a bit more. So I did the training and realized it certainly was a piece of that puzzle. And I thought I could add real value here
Mm.
to maybe supporting them towards recovery, better recovery, sustainable recovery. And so I did the course and I thought, well, actually, I need to be a trainer. I need to be an instructor. And I've come from an education background mostly.
Yeah.
So it sort of made sense. And I love to be in front, with an audience. I absolutely love it.
There is nothing like it, is there? Standing in front
I
of people,
know.
having that audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for some people, it's actually petrifying. It's the most terrifying
Yeah.
thing to do. But for
Yeah.
some of us, we get energy from it. We get energy from sharing our knowledge, from helping other people learn and grow and making their lives better.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, I'm not always, because if you said to me, "Can you stand up and do a 60 seconds about your business?" I'm absolutely petrified. It's
Oh, you
interesting.
you're
There
gonna
is
have to come to
something.
me because we can make you do that really easily. We can make that really simple and not painful at all, completely
Mm,
painless. Um,
yeah,
can I just
yeah,
go back a little bit and
yeah,
I just wanted to ask a little bit of a probing question because when we talk about mental health,
yeah,
lots of us skirt over things, and I'm not accusing you of doing that, right? But when we say things like, "Oh, we had challenges," or "My daughter had challenges," or I've had a hard time and it was a really dark time." sometimes we don't really know what that means, and we kind of have to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So when people are struggling with mental health, and you don't have to go into the personal stuff, believe me,
Yeah.
what are we talking about here? What kinds of things, if we were to strip it away and somebody went, just explain that to me because I'm an alien from another planet and I don't know what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is the thing. There's a couple of things there really in terms of not knowing how to talk about it because I don't understand it, not really have the education around it. And also not knowing what to say or, we can make it worse and that sort of thing. And I
Yeah.
think it's knowing, understanding language. And sadly, there's a lot of stigma that goes with that as well. But I think it's more about when we start seeing a change in somebody that is out of the ordinary. So they're doing something that is a behavior that's not their normal behavior. Okay.
Mhm,
And that
mhm,
could be anything from physical, emotional, or behavioral change.
mhm.
Um, and I think we all have days when we don't feel great.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Are we aware of it? And can we recognize it? Because I think that is the sort of key, isn't it, in terms of potential recovery? It's like being aware of it, knowing what to do about it, and then having those strategies to sustain it. So, but I think we have not been taught any of this in our education system.
Our generation in particular was
Yeah,
probably more stuff and nonsense. Let's not dwell on that.
yeah,
And that might be a history. So just bear with me on this one, right? My husband the other day, we were watching something about VJ Day, so Victory in Japan Day, okay?
right,
And in when we were born, so I was born in the 70s, okay?
yeah,
That was just 25 years since the war has ended, since the
yeah,
Second World War had ended. And so our parents and their generation and their grandparents had been through the war, and it was we don't talk about that. We
mm,
we don't bring that up because that's just too traumatic and let's just put it away.
yeah,
Whereas now we're far, far away from that generation and kind of 2 generations on, I are we still struggling with the stigma to talk about our mental health?
mm,
Do we still have those little drips of, "Actually, we don't talk about that
yeah,
because nonsense. Other people have had much worse than you."
yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. I think you're absolutely right. It's generational, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think also what you've just brought up has made me think about something else. Might be a little bit off-piste, but
We
if
like
you
office, that's the way our brains work.
you think about the impact of that, post-war
Yeah.
traumatic stress that we never talked about. So just trying to that will manifest itself into something. And I wonder whether we are the impact of that. The fact that we are talking about mental health, the fact that there are more challenges, or is it because we're more talking more about it, more aware of it? But there
Yeah.
seems to be more challenges. Is that a knock-on effect of those,
Is it a
post-war
generational thing?
trauma?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
I don't
in
know.
each one of
Yeah.
us, yeah, I don't know, but does each one of us in a different generation want to break the cycle, want to do things differently? And so now,
Mm, mm,
actually, we are able to talk about it a bit more. We are seeing people
yeah,
talking about their mental health a bit more.
yeah. But it's being able to do it in a safe space, I
Yeah.
think, and this could be also the reason why a lot of people don't talk about it, is because
Mhm.
I'm going to be judged, I might lose my job, or,
Yeah.
if we're talking about workplace, then, and that's still prevalent. So
Yes.
it
I
takes,
can't, yeah,
yeah, I think it
can't
takes leaders, doesn't it, that are influencers that can make that change.
yes. I can't even sugarcoat it and go, "Hey, we're all," like you said at the beginning of this podcast and that's this interview, this isn't about toxic positivity. My white dog isn't saying, "Hey, it's really positive to talk about this," because actually the reality is
Mm,
in so many workplaces we're still not talking about it and people will
mm,
still hide it and will still shield themselves because they don't want to lose their job.
yeah.
They don't want to be sidelined. All of those things. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
definitely. And also, what's really interesting is, I'm loving this, thanks thanks for this opportunity, is where we do have mental health first aid trainers,
Yeah.
and trained people in workplaces, and yet they may not be the right fit for somebody to go to have a
Ooh.
conversation. It's interesting,
Oh.
yeah, so it's about knowing who to trust, building the relationships.
Oh, that's a massive, massive part of it, isn't it? The trust
Yeah,
in the workplace. And we
yeah,
don't always get it right. I don't get it right all the time. And I will openly say that inclusive change was born out of me breaking at a period in my life where I actually had to give up my job,
right.
and I took 6 weeks out of work. I was working at the time, and I tell this story quite openly. I was working at the time at the University of Bristol and was part of the change management team there. And I loved my job,
Mm,
absolutely loved my job. But at the same time, my children were going through autism diagnosis. Two of them, 1 year was one, 2 years later was another diagnosis. And we also were living with my mother-in-law who was struggling with dementia. And so being able to keep everything going, being able to survive and work, I couldn't do it. And a very good friend in the workplace said, "Look, Luce, I'm seeing you." And so this is she would be an amazing mental health first aider if she isn't, she
mm,
probably is.
mm,
Um, so I'm just going to say hi, Ronnie, because it was you.
yeah.
Um, she said, "Every time you go down, I see you go down, and you say it's all right. I can come into work. It's okay, and I can't get back. You're not coming back up again."
Mm,
Or if you're coming back up, you're not coming back up to as far as you need to go. And
mm,
then you go down again. And
mm.
at one point, you are going to have to stop and you are going to have to fix yourself. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much what she said to me. And so I took time off work. I admitted it. I said, I can't do this. And I took 6 weeks off. I went and got therapy because we had an employment assistance program. So many of the companies I'm sure that you work with
Yeah.
probably do have an EAP or an employee assistance program. And I was able to get, I think, six sessions or 8 sessions of talking therapy. And that that was incredible
Mm,
because it allowed me to kind of process stuff, think about what was important, and come back. And I
yeah.
went back to work, but I immediately handed my notice in because I realized that I couldn't be an employee and a manager of a team and doing really incredible stuff whilst also trying to look after my family. So I
Absolutely.
took yeah. So I took the easy route and set up a business instead.
But, easy route, yeah, it's
It
interesting.
was not.
Thanks for sharing that. That's massive, isn't it? It is massive, isn't it? And I think having somebody, like you said, somebody that just did that check-in and just said, "You don't seem that's massive." Having somebody like that as a
Yeah.
mentor, maybe peer-to-peer support within organizations could be a really good thing.
Oh, I think
Um,
it can be
yeah.
massive, and sometimes not the people who are in your own team or who manage you, because sometimes that feels that's not safe
Mm,
in disclosing to your manager. So
yeah.
sometimes you might want to talk to somebody else.
Absolutely, and knowing who and that's a bit of a challenge for us actually. So mental health first aiders,
Yeah.
they tick a lot of organizations go, "Let's do this tick box and get a mental health first aider in place." Well, they've got 2,000 employees, well, they probably need 1 in 10, I would
I
say.
was just gonna say exactly the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it needs to be spread across, so people feel supported, and like you said, it might be just getting the right person to speak to. But also HR, just gonna throw that in as well, because
Mm.
HR, I feel that they have a massive responsibility. They have to wear so many hats,
Yeah.
and the language and the challenges they have in terms of supporting people, mental health, first aid, and HR can be, it's two very different hats.
Yeah.
So, there's something in that. Actually, I think there's more support needed for HR people. I think leaders
Oh,
need
goodness.
to get involved
Yeah.
more.
I
Yeah.
I have a I have a special interest at the moment.
Mm,
Reading employment tribunals and decisions in employment tribunals, particularly around neurodiversity. That's for
yeah,
another podcast completely.
yeah, yeah.
But HR probably need to get themselves on board with understanding that kind of
Mm,
stuff.
yeah.
I want to ask you, so let's unpick and let's
Mm,
understand a bit. What is mental health first aid in the workplace?
yeah.
We've
Okay.
mentioned it a couple of times, but just again, for somebody who just doesn't know this stuff, what is it?
Yeah. good question. And I don't always get a chance to talk about that, so it's really good. So if you think about physical first aid training, which is mandated, isn't it, within the workplace now, it's
Mm.
compulsory. Um, we don't, as a physical first aid trainer or physical first aider, you don't need to be a doctor. You just need to know what to do in an emergency,
Mhm.
to get professional help if you need to get professional help. Exactly the same with mental health first aid. We can be that first intervention before crisis, before professional help.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't teach you to be a therapist. So I'm not going to say, right, at the end of this, you're going to be a counsellor and you're going to know exactly what to say. Now, this
Yeah.
bit is the biggest learning experience on the course is how do you have that conversation? First of all, it's recognizing some of the signs and symptoms within the workplace. And I think to be able to do that is massive. And then to then know what to do and say and how to help. So being able to listen, giving somebody the space without judgment is the most powerful thing you can know and learn and do in a workplace or to support somebody else. Because you're not being judged. If you're not being judgmental, you're just being empathic, you're listening, you're
Mm.
not making any assumptions at all. So that would support everybody, really.
Yeah.
Um, it's a very person-centered approach because not one thing fits everybody. So, but that's a real skill, I think, and it's something to learn. I think everybody should learn it. It's the most powerful thing because it also gives you that capacity to be kinder, a bit more compassion. Okay, so let's go back a little bit in terms of we can't support somebody unless we're in a good place ourselves. So I
Yeah.
also the course also teaches you how to know how to recognize your own stress levels and also how you can mitigate and also support yourself. So what do you do to manage your own stress? And knowing that it's okay to say no as well, saying yes to you,
Yeah.
having boundaries.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
we've done that ourselves actually, because
yeah,
I think a couple of weeks ago we were due to record this,
yeah,
and I said, "I can't do it on the
mm,
evening before." I was like, "I'm really sorry, I can't do tomorrow. I'm
yeah,
okay-ish, but I
mm,
just don't feel that I can do that." And that was an opportunity to say no to something, which I
mm.
very rarely do. Those people that know me will know that I very rarely do that. So,
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, well done, you. There you go.
so why do we need mental health first aid in the workplace?
Yeah,
Why now?
yeah. Well, there is a financial impact as well. I mean, if you think about, it's all about money, isn't it? At the end of the day,
Quite
if you've got
often, yes.
business, right?
Yes.
And
The
there's something like
ROI, yes.
yeah, there's something like a 34 billion deficit as a result of mental health and mental illness in the workplace in the
My
UK.
word.
That's huge,
Just
isn't
in
it?
the UK, just in the UK.
Yeah. So why would we not want to explore this? This is the thing that I find really um, challenging to understand why,
Mhm,
because money's always been the motivator, isn't it? But
mhm.
so financially, but also, 80% of people that run businesses feel isolated as well. They
Yeah.
are, and that can have a massive impact on mental health. So I think it's not just the financial side; it's also the well-being and mental health is huge in
Mm.
terms of going forward. So we yeah, it's compelling. It's a compelling
Oh,
case.
absolutely. Now, okay, so I'm just gonna ask you a bit of a question here about, solopreneurs or
Okay.
sole operators, so traders, whatever, they could be a limited company. Anyway, um, the majority of businesses in our UK economy
Mm,
are less than 5 employees. If not, actually, I think the majority are one-person employees.
yeah.
So how could we help those people who are managing and taking the burden of running a business, looking after their family, and will most probably be struggling with mental health at
Yeah.
some point?
Yeah.
If nothing more, because, hey, we've got to pay that VAT bill, and where does
Yeah.
that money come from sometimes?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, there are some brilliant strategies in terms of well-being strategies. And sometimes it can be um, recognizing what they are, but also how you can have that additional support. So I know there's amazing networking opportunities that, well, some of them and more about business, but I think there's room in there to do more, I think, in
Mm,
terms of how to support
yeah.
solopreneurs, because having being that person myself, I would have to admit that I do feel isolated myself sometimes. It's only by being proactive by doing podcasts with you, Lucy, for example, and
Mhm.
to just get myself out there, be really proactive, to have conversations. Because I know that for me, as an individual, I'm a socialite, and I know that by being sociable, um, it's going to
It
help
brings you energy, and it
own well-being. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Of course, that's not right for everybody, because some
yeah,
people, if they're neurodivergent, for example, then being sociable is probably the last thing they want to do. But maybe a one-to-one could be a really nice approach for them. But
mhm,
knowing where to go, isn't it? It's
yeah.
having those sorts of support networks. I think there is definitely something in that, and I'm curious about how we could, create that, have more of that, for
I think we can take that further, yeah, definitely take that further.
yeah.
So at Inclusive Change, we talk about neurodiversity all of the time. To anybody that will listen to us, whether they like it or not, to be quite honest with you. However, it's a really important topic for us. So every time I talk to somebody, I want to know what the perspective is around neurodiversity. So how does mental health first aid support or even doesn't support, where there might be some gaps and some improvements that need to be made, for neurodivergent colleagues, say somebody who's autistic or ADHD?
Thank you, Lucy. Yeah, so what's really interesting, I have to say this, is that since I've been doing mental health first aid training, neurodiversity is a whole new opportunity, really, isn't it, in terms of conversation? But it's only really started to evolve in the last 6 years, really,
Oh,
in terms of
definitely.
conversation.
Yes,
It's
yes,
huge. But
yes.
I think it's because of mental health first aid where we're starting to go, what is that? Is that does that mean neurodiversity as well?
Yeah,
No, it doesn't. Mental health, can impact us if we
yeah.
are neurodiverse. So,
So tell me more about the connection between mental health first aid and neurodiversity.
okay. So what I've noticed since I've been training mental health first aid for the last 6, 7 years, those sort of conversations are starting to come about, in terms of what is neurodiversity? Is it the same as mental illness? No,
Yeah,
but it's brilliant that we are starting to have those conversations. So people are becoming more aware because of mental health knowledge. And, I think somebody mentioned, well, I can't remember who mentioned it, but somebody said about mental health awareness. It's like a bit like a baby when they first discover their arms.
right.
That's where we are in terms of our knowledge, in terms of mental health. So
Oh,
we're
wow.
at the early stages of
Oh,
understanding, which I thought was a really good metaphor, an analogy of that. So
yeah,
and I think that's where we're at in terms of neurodiversity. So people are still starting to talk about it, and it's brilliant. I mean, um, and the impact is that, what we want to know more. We want to be able to support people in the workplace, don't we? So
yeah.
which is where you come into it, Lucas, isn't it? So it's I'm loving what you're doing.
I thank you.
It's great that potentially we can support each other in that. So um, can you do you find that those questions come up actually in terms of the difference between mental health and neurodiversity? Does that
Yeah,
happen? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And certainly within HR teams, managers who are trying to support their staff. So, mental health can affect all of us. And
yeah,
so, regardless of whether you're neurodivergent, so neurodivergent, we would use language like neurodivergent to describe things like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, Tourette's. Acquired neurodiversity, which acquired neurodiversity might be you become neurodivergent, your brain changes permanently in your lifetime. So you're not born neurodivergent, but you might have a stroke or you might have a brain injury. Lots of people with traumatic brain injuries, they will become neurodivergent and their brains will operate differently than prior to a traumatic brain injury. And
interesting.
that seems obvious, but it does mean that lots of things around neurodivergence will impact them. So the way they communicate, the way they process information, the way they think about the world and receive messages around about the world, and then talk about that stuff. And so
Just
oh, go on.
does it also, I mean, I'd love to do another podcast around this, but for example, hormones,
Yeah.
like teenage hormones,
Oh,
menopause, is that the same? Will it impact?
menopause can bring on and show up symptoms and signs of neurodivergence massively, because our hormones are changing. So we've got a whole webinar about neurodiversity and menopause, and our hormones go awry anyway when we're going
Yeah,
through menopause. But if you perhaps are ADHD but never have had a diagnosis and never had any support or realized it, as a woman, when you start to go through menopause, oh my Jesus days. Um, Actually, it can make things a lot more difficult.
right.
Your ADHD symptoms will literally come to the surface. And I can quite happily say my brain is a very, very busy brain, and I've gone through menopause, and it got busy, it gets busier. So the brain gets much
I
busier.
don't know. Well,
And
that's
and then
knowledge that everybody needs to know, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, definitely. And the whole yeah, I'm not even going to go there because I will literally be there for another 35 minutes just
Okay.
talking about menopause. Um, but certainly people who are neurodivergent. So, for instance, somebody who's autistic, um, they will have differences in the way they communicate, in the way they manage the sensory aspect of their world, in the way that they will process information. And
Yeah.
all of that might mean that they might have difficulty, recognizing their emotions. So they don't realize that they're depressed. They don't realize that they're sad. Because actually, there's a whole thing. Again, I can do another 3 hours on this particular one. But there's a whole thing around recognizing and understanding your own emotions and other people's emotions,
Mhm.
and
Mm.
that's called alexithymia. It's a thing, okay?
Okay.
And people who are neurodivergent may not even realize that they experience this and have this, but
Mm.
alexithymia is an inability to recognize your own emotions or other people's.
Okay.
And so facial expressions, for instance, they might not know that you're angry. So unless you
Mhm.
tell them I'm angry, they're not gonna know. So
Yeah.
I could quite happily say this about my husband, although he doesn't have this. But unless I tell him I'm upset, he's not going to know I'm upset. So I
Mm.
have to say,
Yeah.
I'm upset now. I'm
And
really
actually,
upset.
it's good to be able to talk about this stuff, isn't it?
Yeah,
Talk about your emotions as well. And I think this is a good thing about mental health first aid, but also a new program that I'm running, which I'll talk about later, I'm sure, is the fact that we are about giving somebody that psychological safe space to have those conversations, to feel safe, to feel that they can move forward.
yeah,
The fact
I,
that the way they feel in that moment is not permanent, and it's, but we can be
yes,
that massive intervention towards them feeling better and in a better space, and, because nothing is permanent, is it?
no,
So,
no. However,
mm,
this is one. So I would love to do training for mental health first aiders to help them understand some of the things that would be barriers for particularly autistic people in appreciating and understanding their own mental health. Nothing is permanent.
mm,
However,
mhm,
for some people who don't have a concept of time,
mm,
can't think of the past and can't think of the future, now is the only context that they live in. And so
mm,
if they are sad now, it is very, very, very hard for them to see a time when they won't be sad, because they cannot envisage and imagine the future when it's not like that.
yeah. So it's about language then, isn't it? It's about knowing, like, the neurodivergent language that we
Yeah.
need to perhaps
Yeah.
incorporate into
Yeah.
some of the training, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
really
So
good.
it's really it's too complex, I would say,
Yeah,
and too much to go, "Oh, yeah, we could just do training and that would make everybody competent," because you still wouldn't be. Because
yeah, absolutely.
even as a mental health first aider, you're gonna come across things that
Yeah,
you really aren't equipped to deal with. And
yeah,
that's an interesting one. At what point do you say,
mm,
"Okay, I need
yeah.
to we need to get you some more support. We need to go somewhere
as
else.
soon as you don't feel comfortable, right? So if you just got to be really authentic about it. I think it's about, you don't have to be an expert as a mental
Yeah.
health first aider with just that intervention. It's a big ask, I have to say.
Yeah.
Of course it is. But if you've got the right support within the organization, then, and the right policies and the right strategy, then it's going to be okay, because you're going to have what's next. Okay, so we've got this stage where I
Right.
don't know what I'm talking about right now. What do we do? Right. So this is where we've got amazing resource in terms of what's next. You know, for example, the Hub of Hope, which is a brilliant
Oh, I
website.
love that. The Hub of Hope. Is it
Brilliant,
the
isn't
hub of
it?
hope.com? I can't remember.
Co.uk. Co.uk.
Co.uk.
Because it's not just about mental health, it's about
Yeah.
neurodiversity as well. It's about other addictions as well, and just general, and even bereavement, even, for example. So if you have anything that you want a bit more information, a bit more insight into how you might be able to support somebody, it's a brilliant resource. And you can actually, one way of approaching it is with that person that you're supporting and saying, look, should we have a look at this together and see, explore it? Is there anything here that you want to have a look at and explore a bit more? Do you want me to help you with that? That's what it's about. It's not about saying you've got to do this and you've got to do that. It's about being that supportive,
I
authentic guide
yeah. Love
towards.
that. I love that,
Yeah,
that idea of, "Hey, let's have a look at the Hub of Hope." Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's
So
fun. Yeah,
the way Hub of Hope works is you put your postcode in and you can type
yes,
in what you're struggling with, and it will come up with
yeah,
organizations locally that can support you. And
brilliant.
so you could say, "Hey, there's Mind or the Samaritans. They're big ones that everybody knows about." But then locally, and I'm in Bristol, so I'm just gonna think of things like Bristol Autism Support.
Yeah,
Um, they should be on there. If they're not, I'm gonna remind them to get on there.
yeah.
Because that can then be somewhere that people can go to get more support.
Yes, it's really
Um,
nice. And also
yeah,
it's just like another, because sometimes if you're having a conversation with somebody, it's like, if you feel like you're not really helping, or if you're awkward, or, should we, you change it
yeah,
up a little bit
let's
by
have a
saying,
look
should
at
we
that.
go and look at something else? Should we go for a
Yeah,
walk? Or, just different ways of approaching it. And I think, like I've said, it's a skill you can learn in terms of supporting people, but
yeah,
also, the other thing about Hub of Hope is it's updated, isn't it? So it's regularly
yeah,
updated, which is brilliant,
yeah.
and it's
I
regulated. So yeah.
Well, and I just like the fact that, somebody else is doing that, and that I have a
Yeah,
lot of things about everything, so Hub of Hope is my
yeah,
place to go. If there's
yeah,
nothing that comes out of this, podcast and interview, Hub of Hope. Okay.
yes.
Right, I'm gonna move on to another question. So, what kinds of changes or trends are you seeing in the workplace that might be improving our well-being, or on the flip side, might be making it worse? I've got my own
Yeah,
views, but I'm gonna stay really quiet on this one and let you go with that.
yeah, okay, I think the awareness piece is definitely a thing. I think, if I think about when I first started, mental health first aid training, there was something like 1 in 80, that was trained as a mental health first aider. Now it's 1 in 56. So there you go. So there's a lot
Okay,
more
so going
people that
down. Yeah, good.
are,
Yeah,
yep,
or
so
going up, isn't it?
more,
So
yeah, so a lot more awareness, which is great, which is why these conversations are happening around neurodiversity, around well-being as well. So well-being isn't, the new fad. I'm sorry to say fad, but there are a lot of people that come out of the woodwork and go, "Yay, we can do this, we can do this," and
yeah.
but actually, it's about getting the right, regulated, certified people that can run these training courses, and they know what they're talking about. So in terms of positive things, so it is, awareness is definitely there. What's got worse, I think, and I think I might have mentioned it before, is, well, it's not worse. It's more about two things. First thing is, people they're not experts, they're not therapists, and they don't always know what to do next. So I think there is a gap there, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, yeah, it's about well-being. So the next piece is, which is really lovely, which is what I'm doing next, is all about sustainable well-being. How do we make it sustainable? How do we
Mm.
create environments that everybody feels supported? And it's not just about crisis mental health. It's about, let's get there before it gets to that stage.
Yeah.
Let's explore really good strategies that can help our employees for the long
And
term.
and I'm gonna bring you onto that in a moment, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail, but is it all about work? for instance, because there's so much going on in the world. There's so much cost of living, wars, conflicts, the news, being online all of the time, having to ping, WhatsApp messages and Slack
Mm,
messages. And if you've got
mm,
kids and you're in
mm.
the WhatsApp group for school and whatever, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it all just about work now, though? Or,
No,
and
not at all.
no,
Not at all.
what?
I think actually sometimes work can be salvation, couldn't it? It can
Yeah,
be a really nice space to go because it gives us purpose and focus and all that sort of thing if it's a good
yeah,
environment. So,
yeah,
but we don't always take our work, leave our work in work or leave our home at home.
yeah.
It's, we are, and we are becoming more like that, aren't we? And it's trying to sort of manage various
There's that
parts of our life.
boundary, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. So having some of these skills can help in our lives with everything, with every stages of our life. I think every part of our life. I think having these strategies can really help.
amazing.
Mm.
So, what are your plans for the future then? You've touched on it. Tell me, what have you got coming? Because I mean, we're even talking about 2026 now. My brain's even gone to 2027, but don't even go there.
Well,
So,
we're
yeah,
almost in September, a new school
I
year. I always feel like
know.
it's the start of a new
Oh,
year,
it's a
Like,
rebirth, isn't it? It's a restart in
it
September.
is. Looking forward to it. So, I've loved the summer. It's been fantastic. So of course, I love what I do. Like I said, I always love standing in front of people and being that voice, being an influencer, but I've met somebody that I did a positive psychology master's a few years ago. Well, I didn't finish it.
Okay.
There's a reason for that. But I loved the content. It was so on point at the time. And because it's relevant to what I do, positive interventions. So I met somebody that also did the training, and she's designed the next piece, which is the Wellbeing Ambassador Program. And what it does, it focuses on leaders taking that sort of ownership, responsibility to create that culture of well-being, using positive psychology interventions. And I'm really excited about being able to offer that. And the reason for wanting to do it is because my clients are saying, well, what do we do now? Because they've started to have this awareness, and they're starting to build these policies and strategies, but they're like, well, not quite sure what else can we do that's going to really make it sustainable. So because I think a lot of organizations do have some great strategy, but sometimes it can be just like a tick box, and not one box fits all, does it really?
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
why it's quite compelling, this particular piece of work. So I can't wait to roll it out. But yeah, that's what I'm planning
I
to do.
Brilliant. I love a partnership. I love we don't operate in isolation, and brains together can be so much bigger and better than just us. Like I think I can change the world. I think I can solve
Yeah, of course
so
you
many
can, Lucy.
problems. And
Definitely.
I can't do it by myself. And
Mm.
it's not going to happen unless we partner with people. So that sounds fantastic. So Wellbeing Ambassador Program.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like a one-day course.
Yeah.
There's 3 parts to it.
Yeah.
It looks at sort of well-being for yourself, like what are the strategies for you, and then looking at leaders and then leadership, using strengths,
Right.
um, through, yes,
Love it.
identifying strengths. Yeah,
Love it.
and focusing on that and using various models within positive psychology to create that sustainable approach
Oh,
to
now I
well-being.
know, and now I want to dive into the models. I'm like, "Oh, what are they?" Um,
Yes.
but we'll save that for the course.
Yeah.
So
Well, I look
how
forward to
can
that.
people how can people get in touch with you and find out more about My White Dog and any of the courses and the training that you've got coming up or that you already, provide?
So you can look at the website because mywhitedog.com, and there are courses available. I run them; they're all live on the system, but they're either face to face or online, which is great.
Yep, yep,
And also there is some information around the Wellbeing Ambassador Program. But I would love to just have a conversation. So just feel free to get in touch with me, Paula
brilliant.
at mywhitedog.com. Even if it's just to what does that mean, or just to sort of check in and find out a bit more about what I'm doing. or how I might be able to help
Well, that's
is
kind of how we met. It was
it was, yeah,
contact, and we went, "Okay," and that's how I operate sometimes, and sometimes things progress, and
yeah.
sometimes I forget, and I might not respond because that's the way things go sometimes with an email box, and it's not personal. But sometimes it's like, "Hey, we'll just get on a call and we'll record an interview or record a podcast," and here we are.
I know, it's been really lovely, Lucy, and it's been brilliant to meet you and find out. And also, I can see that there's more to do. So, is
Yeah.
what it's done is opened up more
Oh,
opportunity,
I'm
more
looking forward to
conversation.
the future. Yes, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So thank you, Paula Power from My White Dog, and I'm Lucy from Inclusive Change, and we've been talking about building the future of work with neurodiversity in mind. And today we've been focusing on mental health first aid in the workplace. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Lucy. Great to see you.
Thank you for tuning in to Start the Conversation. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and remember, conversations like these help us make a difference, one discussion at a time. If you have any topics you'd like us to cover, or if you'd like to be featured on the show, don't hesitate to reach out. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, I'm Lucy. Take care.